Hello, this is my first visit to Mongolia. Since it's not the easiest destination, we decided to go on a private guided tour. We'll be exploring central Mongolia for 6 days and 5 nights, traveling with an English speaking guide and a driver. It turns out they're actually brothers. After arriving in Ulaanbaatar, we exchanged some currency and used their money to pay the tour fee. We stopped by a supermarket to pick up some essentials for the trip. It's called E-Mart or Korean supermarket. We bought drinks, wet wipes, and snacks. We didn't get any food, but we ended up regretting it later. Since the food here might not suit your taste, I'd recommend bringing something like instant noodles. The tour is starting late, so we are having a quick lunch here. Our first meal is Japanese food. Most of the meals during the trip will be camp style. I spotted a wrestling stadium in the city center. Now, we're officially starting the tour. Our first destination is Terrace National Park, which is about a 2-hour drive from Ulaanbaatar. The guide briefly stopped the car to buy some snacks from a local vendor selling things like fruit and beans. The seeds were so tiny that they were difficult to crack and eat. We've arrived at the Genghis Khan statue complex near Tels. It's the largest Genghis Khan statue in the world. We went inside and explored the museum, where we saw a giant boot and portraits of rulers. The portrait at the very top is of Genghis Khan. It was an exhibition displaying the history of Mongolia. We're now taking the lift to go up. We can actually climb up to the horse's head on the statue. It feels like riding alongside Genghis Khan. We are also able to enjoy the stunning natural scenery around us. As it's drizzling slightly, we are quickly moving on to the next destination. We've arrived at Terrace National Park. What you see in front of us is Turtle Rock. The rock was shaped solely by wind and rain. There is a legend that a king hid treasures here long ago, and locals used to believe it was a treasure rock that brought them fortune. This is where we'll spend our first night in Mongolia. The Gare experience is what I was most looking forward to. I'm half excited and half worried about how cold it might get at night. Let's go inside and have a look. It's surprisingly spacious, enough for 4 people to stay. In the center, there's a stove that goes up to the ceiling. The view is perfect for enjoying a beer. For dinner, we were served special dishes of pork belly and wine. It suddenly got much colder, so we were eating while shivering. Inside the gare, the stove is filled with wood like this. Since you have to add wood regularly, it's essential to wear warm clothes, even indoors. It's the morning of day 2. I woke up to the refreshing fresh air and the vast meadow. Before having breakfast, I'm heading to the shower room to freshen up. Since September isn't peak season, there were hardly any people around. This is a popular spot for Koreans, so breakfast was also Korean. The view from the restaurant window is quite picturesque, isn't it? We ran into the cat that kept trying to sneak into the gare last night again. Once they're inside, they never leave. Today, we're going to try horse riding. The Mongolian horses seem a bit smaller than usual. We took a ride around, but I couldn't film because of safety reasons. We arrived at a monastery near Terj. If you cross the suspension bridge, you will reach the monastery. It's situated on a hill, so I had to keep climbing stairs. The patterns on the stairs were really beautiful. The view from the monastery looks like a painting. It's the perfect place to clear my mind. Now we're heading to the Elsentasai Desert. The long journey of more than 5 hours from Teres begins. We saw sheep, goats, and cattle along the way. We stopped at the roadside restaurant for lunch. It's the first time on the second day that I'm trying Mongolian food. This is a traditional tea with lots of milk and a slightly salty taste.
Kind of traditional food.
Meat in it. Oh, one for each.
Is it a meaty bread?
Yes.
I ordered noodles, but it had mutton in it. Since I can't eat mutton, my boyfriend ate it instead. In exchange, I had the beef rice that my boyfriend had ordered. We're setting off again before it gets dark. The road isn't well maintained, so we had to cross the grasslands. It would have been difficult to get here without a guide. After a long and rough drive, we finally arrived at the accommodation. The place we'll be staying at is a modern-style accommodation, a cluster of houses for travelers. It was definitely more modern and clean compared to the Gare. They even provided amenities here. The bathroom and shower were also equipped in a modern style. Being able to have a proper shower made me suddenly feel grateful. I played ball with a cute Mongolian girl. She seemed to be the daughter of the owner. I think having travelers visit often helped relieve her boredom.
Yeah. Oh,
This time, we are going to experience the desert on a camel. I've ridden one in India before, and it was scarier than I expected. I hope the camels are calm this time. They are generally gentle with people. I feel bad for being heavy, but please be kind to me. We're moving deeper into the desert on camels. Elsentasai is a mini desert, so there aren't any large sand dunes. I'd like to visit the Gobi Desert someday. I enjoy the beautiful sunset scenery. It's so peaceful with only the sound of the wind. Night has fallen. We've come to the restaurant inside of the Traveler's Lodge for dinner. A warm cup of tea on a cold day was so nice. The special dish served was called harhak, a traditional food. It's a dish served when special guests arrive or during celebrations. Since it was lamb, I couldn't eat much of it.
make it small.
We had a beer on the terrace in front of the lodge. We couldn't see many stars because there was too much light. It's the morning of the third day. We had a simple vegetable soup for breakfast. I found that I can't eat much meat-based food anymore. We're now diligently heading to the next destination. We'll first stop at Erdimju Monastery. It is the first Buddhist monastery in Mongolia. It was the capital of Mongolia until it was relocated to Beijing. Later, it was severely damaged when the Manchu forces set it on fire. Since the 20th century, it has been used solely as a museum. You can see various murals and handicrafts created in the 18th century. Considering Mongolia once established the world's largest empire, it has a modest appearance. There are also tourists dressed in traditional Mongolian attire. I thought they were Mongolians, but it turned out they were tourists. We came to a nearby Korean restaurant. The presentation and taste were quite different from what you'd get in Korea. We stopped by a local shop. They sold snacks and alcohol made from milk. Out of curiosity, I tried a drink made from horse's milk. It tasted a bit like tangy rice wine. I paid about £1 and got a bottle the size of the drink. We're heading towards the Changhae hot springs. We had to drive on a rough road. The car was shaking a lot, so it was hard to sleep. But the natural scenery was so beautiful that it wasn't boring. We've arrived at the resort with hot spring facilities. The accommodation was similar to the garret we stayed in on the first day. Since we had traveled a long way, I checked the hot spring first. It was smaller than expected, but it didn't look bad from the outside. The view from the hot spring was so nice too. However, when I checked the water, it wasn't warm and was very dirty. The yellowish water was filled with dead flies floating around. We were so disappointed that we asked the travel agency to change the accommodation. There were 3 or 4 other resorts nearby. After some twists and turns, we paid an extra fee and moved to a different place. Fortunately, the new place had warm and clean water. The first place had no guests, but this one was fully booked. It seems the travel agency booked us a place where they get a high commission. We had to pay about $60 more per person, but I'm glad we moved. The hot spring water came pouring out, hot enough to burn your hands. We bought a few cans of beer at the restaurant in the resort, then spent a relaxing afternoon in the hot spring. It's dinner time. The main dish is grilled chicken. I was so relieved that it wasn't lamb. The next morning, the driver suddenly stopped the car and got out in a hurry. The car had gotten stuck in a puddle while we were on the move. After several attempts, we finally managed to get out. We are now heading to Ugi Lake. After driving for several hours, we finally arrived at Ugi Lake. It turns out that September isn't the best season to visit the lake. The resort itself was clean and nice. This is where we'll be staying for the night. Being right by the riverside, the view was absolutely stunning. The interior was clean and had a cozy atmosphere. You could see the lake directly through the window. The resort has various types of garret accommodations. We came out to see the lake before it got dark. This place is a Ramsar site famous for its fish and bird life. It's a stopover for waterfowl during their migration. We even saw Mongolian residents riding horses. There was a garret under construction at the resort, so we took a look. We can see the wisdom of nomads in how they protect against the cold. Tonight's dinner is a traditional noodle dish cooked by our guide. To be honest, it was much better than the food I had in restaurants. Since we had to use wood instead of charcoal, it took up quite a bit of effort. My poor boyfriend had to wake up every 3 hours to add more wood. Make sure to pack plenty of warm clothes. I woke up the next morning and was quite surprised. It had snowed heavily overnight. It was the first snow of the year. In the end, I'm glad I came to the lake. Because it hadn't snowed in other areas yet, it felt like a special river despite the cold. Isn't the sight of the gate with snow piled on it so beautiful? We'll have a simple breakfast at the restaurant. Eggs, bread, and sausages. We'll leave quickly before the snow piles up further. The road is rough that we could easily get stuck. There was no snow on the way back to Ulaanbaatar. We stopped at a rest stop for lunch. I was so tired of meat dishes that I only ordered vegetables and rice. After finishing the nomadic journey, we are now heading back to the city. As soon as we arrived, the air quality noticeably worsened. It's not just factories, many homes use stoves, which contributes to it. The final part of the trip was a visit to a shopping mall. This is a shop selling Mongolian-made cashmere products. There were many high-quality cashmere and wool items. I was hoping that it would be cheaper, but the price of a cashmere coat was over £530. The thickness wasn't even that much, making the price feel outrageous. Even a thin scarf was £100. For Mongolian prices, it's extremely expensive. But they also have outlet products, so it's worth taking a look if you can. We checked into a hotel in Ulaanbaatar. It's a city hotel with a view of the downtown area. Here's the view from the rooftop. We're heading to a shopping mall in the city. The vibe of the city feels somewhat dull. You can often spot Korean brand convenience stores. We've arrived at the state-owned department store. It appears to be a fairly old building. Inside, you will find both international brands and Mongolian local brands. This is a shop for a local clothing brand. We bought a few leather products from a local brand.
If you can.
With about half of Mongolia's population living in Ulaanbaatar, the city has quite a busy atmosphere. Here's what we bought today. The leather sunglasses case was £7 and this briefcase cost around £80. Now, we're heading to the airport, marking the end of our 6-day journey. It was a unique experience that gave me a glimpse into the nomadic way of life. See you in the next video.